Hello, welcome back to an episode of Bob's Bus Rescue. It's been a while, can't remember what episode we're up to, but we're going to have a quick catch up. Hi there, sorry it's been so long. We are at a stage with the bus where get to the stage where I was going to fit this wheel arch, which meant that I had to tidy up the area down here, which I've done, and I've also taken all the paint off in the wheel well here. So if I move that light so that it doesn't shine on the camera, as you see here, we've got all the paint back down to bare metal. I did have some, if I put that there, I did have some sort of pitting just here where the wheel literally sprays. So is what I've done with that pitting. It sort of came through in certain places, but the metal is really in good condition. So where it happened, it also happened a bit over here as well. I took it back with a wire wheel, put some rust remover on, and then used the phosphoric acid. Then cleaned that up, because you have to clean phosphoric acid up with water, then cleaned it again, and then the wire wheel again. It's absolutely gone now. It's great. So, and then I've just been on it with the DA. I've been using the DA for it with only have a 50mm head on this DA. That just gives me a good key finish so that I can now put the epoxy primer on there. So I'm going to epoxy primer that. I'm then going to use Raptor, a clear Raptor, which I'm going to mix with some of this Marino Gelb yellow that I have, which will give it colour so it will look nice underneath. I'll do it with a spray gun with a big nozzle so that it actually looks pretty good. It gives quite a nice finish when you're rather than using a shotgun. So I will mask all this off. I'm just going to do this area here and on the inside as well. And once I've got that done, then I can have a look at getting this wheel arch in. I just wanted to do that to make sure that nothing rusts in this area. So, and I did, from over the winter with not really working on it, I did have some rust in the wheel arch. So it's just flash sort of rust on the surface. So it's time to make sure it's all sealed up. And it's nice and dry at the moment. So it's a good time to do it. And then we'll get this wheel arch in, which I've got there. Just setting up to do some painting. So I've masked the area off. You can see there, we're all masked off. It's all stripped back. I've got if you see here, I have a tack cloth, which I've been cleaning around with. So what I'm going to do next is I'll go around with some thinners, and then I'll use the tack cloth again. But then we'll be ready to paint. So that means the next thing to do is what have we got for painting? I have the R500, the Aeropro paint gun, which is all set up now. So just strip that out of the box because we're using the MIPA EP Grundfiller, epoxy primer basically. I'm using that. I've got two options with this. I've got the E25 hardener, which is quite slow, and I've got the E10, which is a lot faster. Because it's actually quite warm, I could use the E25. With regard to the PPE, just going to use rubber gloves on my hands. I have the 3M full kit for doing that, and if you can look in there, you can see that I've got some reading glasses taped in there. You can buy the setup for this. 3M do it. I think it's about 50 quid, something like that, but I just decided, made that, tested it out, works fine. Once it gets hot and sweaty, I've actually had to use masking tape, but I've actually had to glue the masking tape in with super glue. And if it comes off, I can always repair it and fit it back on. I also have the refillable cups, which come with the R500. I've got a paint suit, which I've got a few of those. What else do we need? Mask, gun, paint suit, gloves. Gonna have to mix up the paint. We're all masked up in this area. I've hoovered and dusted the whole area around here an awful lot. It is just epoxy primer. It is quite thick, so it goes on thick. Then the Raptor paint afterwards, when I put that on, that also goes on very thick. But I should really put it on whilst the epoxy primer is still tacky. Otherwise, you have to then sand the epoxy primer, to get a key. And unfortunately, it's getting a bit late in the day now, so I don't know if I've got time to do that. It's a nice warm day though. It's the first warm day, well, we've had a lot of warm days recently, but it's the first warm day that's been a reasonable warm day rather than a heat wave day. So I might not do this today. I'm just getting absolutely everything ready. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to say I'll clean up with the thinners, then go back over the tack cloth, then we're ready to actually paint. So then if I do the painting tomorrow morning, I'll use the tack cloth just before I start, just in case we picked up any dust. Masking takes a while. Nobody ever told me, oh, this masking doesn't look much, but it took me quite a few hours to do that. It's painful. Got everything prepped now to do a bit of painting with the epoxy primer. So I have the epoxy primer here, the Grunfeld EP. I've got some MIPA thinners as well, and we've got the hardener here. I'm set up with the mug, the cup. So there you can see I'm only going to mix a small amount at the moment. I'm going to mix a 2 to 1. So I've got my one there and my one there so that's one for the paint, that's one for the hardener. And then we're going to probably put 20% thinners in, because looking it up online with the data ships, with the temperature we've got today, we probably need to be running 20%. Plus, we're also using a low volume, low pressure, the Aeropro R500, which you need to give it a bit more pressure to chop up the paint. So it says when you're using epoxy primer, because it's thick, needs to be able to chop it up, is the phrases that we used. So I've also got, aside that, I've got some thinners for washing down afterwards. I've got my mask here, I've got my paint suit over there. I need to fit my light to the gun, because that's very useful. I'll do that now. And then I'll start mixing. So now we are kitted up to be able to paint. Oh well, actually I'm going to mix the paint. So here we go, a bit of mixing epoxy primer. Crack into these things and get going. So now the advice with this once it's mixed is to leave it to stand for about 15 minutes. Allow the chemical reaction to take place. So now I'm on number 1, aren't I? Yep, number 1. Got the hardener open, so you can see there we are on number 1. It was on number 1, honestly. Well, not slightly over, it was bang on. Number 1 for hardener. And then we want 10% thinners. So we'll put that out of the way. 4 from the top. Don't spill a drop. So I've gone for 20% thinners there. That's 20%. I'll mix and stick somewhere. It's as best as I can do for a mixing stick. So this has got to stand 15 minutes or so we'll have a wait. So just waited the right amount of time there, so there we go. In the right place. Put it in the gun, start doing some work with it. See how it paints. That's my first go. I've got some runs, I haven't got it on thick enough, and I didn't have enough paint. So that's the worst bit. It wasn't so much that I didn't have enough paint, it was that you need to have enough paint in it when you're painting upside down. So there's a lesson learned there, you need to have twice as much paint, and I've got stuff all over the camera as well. So I do have a smidge left, but you just can't get it out the gun. So that's uninteresting, that's my first go at doing that, so I'll get myself outside, demask, de-everything, and I'll have a catch up with you in a moment. So I finished our first go with the 2-pack epoxy, and all the isocyanates and the VOCs have now evaporated off as they do. So I'm just going to have a quick look at what's gone on. It's not brilliant, but it's not that bad either, but you know, it's not great. But you can see got runs there. I've scraped the paint a bit there. It's not gone on very thick because this is the first coat, so I'm not really in a position to be able to put the second coat on right now. So I think, and then you can see on the inside, on the top of the arch there, it didn't go on thick enough at all. That's not very good. My problem was the paint gun was so big, I kept just catching it in places and I couldn't get access. So if you look here, I haven't got that on there at all. So I'm going to have to sand it back and basically do it again, really. I think is the situation. Got no choice. So I'll have to do a light scuff. I think probably something like 120, maybe 240. That'll key it again. I'll let it go off over the next few days. And then I'll get going again with it. Not ideal, but it's all a learning journey. And just so that you know that all of these tasks and jobs, they don't always go brilliantly anyway, do they? You know, lots of people show you things on YouTube where everything seems to go well, but that's not always the case. As you can see, I completely messed this up, so I'll sand it back and start again. And I've learned that one of the things that I did notice was I only mixed up a few 100 ml of paint, and for that gun to use it upside down, the canister kind of needs to be full. So that was a bit of a lesson learned as well. I should have mixed a lot more paint. If I mixed a lot more paint, I could have probably got a second coat on without the paint actually having gone off, you know, had enough in pot time. All the things I needed to learn about the fact that my paint pot's a bit too big for this space. I wouldn't have known that. I needed to learn that, so I was only ever going to learn that by doing it. So consequently, that's why I've ended up with runs in places, because I was holding the gun too long because I had to manoeuvre the gun around other things. So it's difficult, tricky. I've got a lot of admiration for people who can paint well, I really have. So there's nothing we can't do ourselves though, it really isn't. It's just a bit of a learning journey. Right, so here we go, let's get this shot. That shouldn't leak. Looking good. That doesn't look too bad. That's a lot better than last time. You can see I have got some runs. I'm not very good at this, but I'm getting better. I mean, this low pressure, low volume paint gun does put paint down very quick. I tried to slow that down a bit. I think it needs slowing down even more. But yeah, I think that'll do. I'm going to have to mat it back anyway for the thingy, so that'll get it the runs. So when I put the Raptor paint on, it'll have to be matted back. Now for the less glorious bit, which is the cleaning up. You must strip your gun down. So that is all pretty much disposable. Have I got much left? I do, yeah, that's annoying, isn't it? But I did need more in. If I didn't have more in, I wouldn't have been able to shoot it. So I don't use the expensive thinners. I just get cheap thinners. I got a couple of these for 25 quid, I think. Do not lose that spring. Get everything cleaned up. When you go and clean a kit, you should have a go and clean and brush, handy for these sort of things. Then go over the gun where you've got paint on it, basically. Because if you don't, it just builds up over time and just gets thicker and thicker until the point when your gun no longer works. So I was using a 1.7mm spray cap with that and a 1.7mm nozzle. So and there's the gun, the R500 Aeropro. Very clean now. So I've got that coat of epoxy primer on, and here's what it looks like. Obviously, because I'm not very good at this, we've got some runs in places as you get the angle right. You might just see it there. Bit of a runnage down there. And some runs over there. But they'll stand out, because the thing I've got to do with this now is I've now got to matte it back for doing the Raptor paint. You can see there I've made a bit of a mess of it in here. But I've actually got it coated this time, which I'm feeling a lot better about. I am going to have to matte it back, but it's fine. It'll do. And then with the Raptor paint over it, it'll be fine. That'll do for this video, I think. I don't think I'm going to cover putting the Raptor paint on in this particular video. I'll do that in the next one, because this is taking quite a bit of time. And with the heat, it's meant that I can't quite do everything when I want to. It's just too hot this afternoon. We're into the afternoon now, whereas I did all the painting this morning. So the next video, I'll put the Raptor paint on, and then I shall carry on with doing a bit of bodywork. I want to get this panel in here. So that'll be the next thing we do. Get the masking off. Get the Raptor paint on first. Get the masking off, then start doing a bit of welding. And hopefully we should maybe get that one panel here completed, which would be really nice to get that in. Lots to do.